Welcome to the show, everyone. As you all know, I made it possible for everybody to talk about themselves on the radio, and that's what we're doing right here. I have my first guest with me, and I am so excited about bringing him on. Anyone out there that thinks that they know that they're a baseball fan or know a lot about baseball, think again. You may not. So I have with me James Scott. He's the owner of Saber Scouts. What is your website? Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Saberscouts.com, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about it and why you created it.
So initially, I was growing up in the 90s, and I dealt with the steroid era, and I was watching all these great hitters hit like 40 homers a year, and I would go to these ball games with my dad, and he would hate it when we lost, and I got into looking at the statistics and trying to invent teams so that my team would win, so he would be happy after games, and I ended up getting really deep into the statistics, and I found out that scouting, which goes in contrary to most of the modern methods of like data and analytics, is actually, if you're looking at what matters, is not that far off from what matters in the data and analytics. So I decided that I was going to start a project where I combined the data and the analytics with the scouting, basically took scouting techniques and terms and tried to quantify them with the data. And I ended up creating a new form of evaluating position players that has proven to be more predictive than any out there.
Well, let me ask you something. Who is this website for?
Oh, this is for people who, like, if you want to bet on baseball, or if you are into fantasy baseball, or if you're just like a baseball fan who likes to learn about the game, if you're going on Fangraphs, or if you're going on ESPN and studying the stats, this is for you, because we will create a leaderboard about 440 players deep before every single season for you. So
the website is Saber Scouts, so it's SABER Scouts plural.com. You got to check it out. It's going to be really, really cool for everybody out there. What makes this era of baseball different than from the past?
So now this is where my statistics are completely different than most out there. In this era, we have shifts, which really hurt players who just hit the ball in one direction all the time and who are slow. We have bullpenning, where you take starting pitchers out of the game as soon as they're not effective anymore, and you bring in better players out of their bullpen to get the hitters out. You have openers, if you have to shorten the time a starting pitcher has to stay in the game. You have the juice ball theory, where the ball has been going out of the park more than ever these days. Swing changes, all the data that helps with that. We are more able to take what a ball player can be and transition it into what a ball player is now than ever. But there's also so much data on that defenses can deal with that, and the managers can bring in different pitchers to deal with that as well. So it's harder to find quality hitting in the moments you need it than ever.
This is really cool. It's Saber Scouts with an S.com. So how do you feel about clutch? Is that real?
Yeah, so now this is one of the biggest controversial topics in sabermetrics right now. So there's this book called, literally The Book, by Tom Tango and a few other great baseball authors, where they try to explain why clutch isn't real. And they try to use results to explain this. This is completely incorrect and not even fair to batters. In order to figure out which players are going to perform better in the clutch, you just got to figure out which players are just frankly better batters than each other. If you have a mistake hitter, a guy who hunts pitches like straight fastballs, hanging curveballs, easy to hit pitches, they're probably not going to do the best in the clutch against the best pitching, or against pitching trying their best. Whereas if you have a hitter who's very aggressive all the time, who covers the zone very effectively and doesn't let hittable pitches go by, that hitter's going to do much better in that situation, and really much better in most situations.
Well, how do you identify which player is going to age well then?
Well, now that's where it gets really interesting, because if you're going after aggressive hitters, which also reflect as clutch hitters, players who are swinging at like all the pitches around the strike zone and somehow still hitting them for line drives consistently, because they're swinging so much and making so much regular contact, typically the decline is very, very slow. With guys like Derek Jeter, guys like Adam Jones, guys like Brandon Phillips, you've seen this. They're swinging all the time. They may not have ridiculous power numbers because they're covering so much areas of the strike zone, but they're so consistent year in and year out. and they're really effective late into their 30s.
Well, you got to check it out. You know, it used to be different when I was a kid, totally.
Oh my
So
God.
it's Saber Scouts with an S.com. You got to check it out. And when somebody goes up on there, you know, what's the first thing that you expect for them to go and look at? What will be the first one with where they'd want to look on it?
Oh, on Saber Scouts, you
Yeah.
have to absolutely look at the leaderboards. If you look at the leaderboard for last year, the 2018 leaderboard, you're going to see swing speed data from the 2017 season, which you don't find anywhere else on the internet outside of this one little tiny article that's really difficult to dig up. Swing speed at point of impact, literally the swing speed miles an hour at the moment the bat meets the ball. They even have attack angle, which is the angle the bat is meeting the ball, not launch angle, and that's what people are looking at now. Attack angle, the future. And if you're looking at the data for the 2018 season, which is labeled the 2019 leaderboard, you even see data on which players can cover the strike zone more effectively with the expected batting average on each part of the zone. So
Well, check it out. It's SaberScouts.com. So are there different types of hitters?
oh yeah, there's a lot of different types of hitters, and we've really identified these types of hitters in two ways. Guys who succeed by being selective, and guys who succeed by being aggressive. The selective hitters are fully formed. There's not much more you can do to get those selective hitters to get better, but when they're on a hot streak, they're basically the best hitter in baseball because they're fouling off good pitches. There's no way if you make any mistake, it's gone. It's a homer. But they go through hot and cold spells because their swing falls out of whack. If you're going with aggressive hitters, which swing all the time, they're a lot more consistent, but they don't have, as big power numbers because they're trying to hit everything, and they can't pull the ball. They can't sit on a ball that they can pull.
Well, I'll tell you something. I would think that everybody would want to always be consistently a heavy hitter.
Absolutely.
That would be my thought.
Yeah, I mean, if you can consistently hit any pitch thrown to you, then you can hit basically any pitcher out there.
But that's too hard to do. That's one of the hardest things to do, I've heard, is having a baseball being thrown at you at how many miles per hour?
Oh man, these days they're throwing 198. Like they're throwing over 100 more than they ever have in baseball history. And they say the hardest thing to do in sports, like you mentioned, is hit a baseball. So in theory, it's a lot harder than ever. But we're also dealing with a point in history where batters are more intelligent than ever, and they're swinging more often. You have the data for it. So I think there's a way of creating a lineup, a full lineup of guys who can just hit everything thrown at them, even if it's only for a single. And that's enough for me.
Then you got to check it out. It's SaberScouts.com. So why has baseball undervalued bad ball hitters and overvalued mistake hitters?
Well, I mean, this is where it really gets into it, because I like my bad ball hitters, the guys who can swing at everything and hit it for just a single, because that's enough, like I said. And mistake hitters, even though they don't swing a lot, and even though they can't swing and hit everything for a single, because they're not swinging and trying to hit everything, they're taking balls that are not in the strike zone, meaning they're going to walk more often. And the walk pads their on-base percentage, and everybody loves the result statistics. I mean, the core of sabermetrics is result statistic analysis, and that's why scouts have an issue with it, because results aren't the true talent of a player. So if you're looking at these mistake hitters, their on-base percentages are going to be higher. They're going to hit more consistently for power because, like I said, they can sit on a pitch. So there's counting statistics. Their results will be better than these aggressive hitters, but they're actually worse. So that's why right now these bad ball hitters are being completely undervalued in the game.
Well, I'll tell you something. It's amazing. How did you guys get so aficionado on this?
I literally dedicated the last 3 years to just studying position player baseball statistics.
That's pretty amazing.
Every single day, 4-6 hours a day. I'd take breaks every once in a while. I'd go to the fields and I'd field, or I'd go to the cages and I'd hit, but I live this.
You got to check it out. It's SaberScouts.com. So what do you hope to do with all of this?
Now, there's a whole bunch of different ways I could answer this question, because there's so many different ways I want to use this knowledge, Like, I would love to go and help a team with this knowledge, because there's so many teams that, absolutely don't operate this way. I don't know why they're not looking at the data this way. Denard Span is a free agent. Brendan Phillips, who I mentioned earlier, he's a free agent. Austin Jackson's a free agent. So if the teams knew this data, these guys would be signed. So I would love to work for a team. I would love to work for ESPN Radio and any radio station, really, MLB Network Radio. MLB Network, period. I'd love to work in baseball anywhere where I could talk the game, be about the game, and just study as much as I've been studying.
You never know who's listening. Maybe somebody is listening right now that might just say, that guy's got something there.
Well, I mean, hey, I'm open to offers, so.
So again, you can check him out at saberscouts.com. What's your favorite thing about it, besides everything?
My favorite thing about Saber Scouts is every single year I try to improve the leaderboard. And it's not just about improving the leaderboard in terms of which statistics that I'd be using, to be more accurate. But I also try to improve the leaderboard as far as, like, this year, I'm studying all the players in AA, all the players in AAA, and the top 30 prospects for all 30 major league teams, in addition to the 450, 460 major leaguers that are out there. So I just try to expand what I'm studying, and I think that's really the most exciting part of the website for me.
Well, you got to check it out, guys. It's something new. Is it live now?
It's up there now, yeah.
It's up there now, so you can check it out, all you baseball fans. It's SaberScouts with an S.com.